Hey guys, what's happening? We need to talk again about some new information that I found regarding sample cards based on some cards that have been cycling through my possession here that I'm been bringing to auction lately. So we're going to talk about this image and then get into some of the data a little bit. But hopefully this is where you find value in my channel. Sure, I don't have a script. I don't do any video editing. I'm still trying to figure out how to work a camera, but these are insights that you're only going to find here due to the situation that I'm in here, trying to bring these to auction through the Facebook page and just the content I create and the network I've been able to establish with the great people across the sorcery community. So let's get into the image here. What I have here is sample cards with origins from three different people and locations and just different provenance, which is going to become important as I talk through this. So on the far left, this card came from the silver package packs that were given to Red Zone Rogue. So he was given 12 packs. This card right here is from one of those. This next one is from the sample card giveaway event that the company did with Red Zone Rogue again. Um, from a set of precons, there were 4 precon decks that were decomposed, and Simon mixed those up and randomly drew winners. And some of those folks are selling some of their cards. And then on the far right, I'll just say, I won't say exactly who this is from, but this is from a different YouTuber that also received precon decks. So this one is also of precon deck pedigree. So again, these are from the silver sample packs. So the ones that did not have the artistic print on them. So they're not the Team Covenant ones, but rather the silver ones. And those will also be the ones that pledgers will receive in the Kickstarter fulfillment. And then we have 2 different precon deck pedigrees. So if you look left to right, there's some obvious distinct differences here, right? Like this one is discolored or differently colored, I guess I'll say, because we don't know which is going to be the final, or perhaps none of these. These are sample test cards, so they could change significantly in the final print. But it's interesting to note that these silver ones are distinctly different from these other two. And what this creates is another level or tier of rarity that we're going to find within these sample card sets. And I'll get to that in a moment, like the population that we're at least aware of how these sample cards are being distributed, how they have been so far, and then what we could come to expect from Kickstarter fulfillment. But bottom line up front, I think the precon decks are very, very rare. We're probably going to have a total population larger for the sample packs because some of those are included in the Kickstarter, and backers will receive those. So when you see these precon decks and cards from those are going to be a higher level of rarity. So there's going to be fewer of those in total net population based on some assumptions that I'll get into from an article I wrote on my website. But interesting to note here that several of these, and I haven't pointed out which are from what provenance. A lot of that is private, based on sellers not wanting to disclose who's selling, which is understandable because it's a bit polarizing, controversial in some people's eyes, I guess. But really, we're just connecting buyers and sellers and the people who ultimately want to own these things. And basically, in these auction lots, there's going to be several of, and there already has been several of these pre-con deck cards. And there'll be more of those. So that is an extra level of nuance and reward in a way that this may be the one and only opportunity to acquire these things. Those are the rarest of the rare, and it's just really exciting to be able to acquire those to some folks that are into high-end collectibles and just the rarest of the rare in any given TCG, especially Sorcery, which is one we all love. Why we're watching this video, right? So if I go to the website, I'm going to pull up my Collector Arthouse website and go to an article I wrote under interviews and articles. Just click that and you'll get the full list. And then you come down here to sample cards, right? And then here I decomposed. I wrote a nice long article about what are sample cards, where they come from, how are they distributed. And if you look at the Kickstarter pledge packs, when we see fulfillment, hopefully in November of this year, there's going to be 244 sample packs given to the backers who pledged at those higher level tiers. So at the highest of the high, the Avatar of the Realm, there were 4 folks there that get 12 packs each. So there you have 48. 24 in the collector tier get 4 packs. And then there were 100 sorcery early bird tier. So that was like I think it was a case maybe? Yeah, case of cards. So 6 booster boxes. and they will get one sample pack per pledge. So 100 there, totals 244 sample packs. And again, these will be the silver packs that were also the same that were given to Red Zone Rogue. So going back here to that image, the pledgers, those 244 packs are going to look like this. They'll be from that pedigree. These are the precons. So let's look at who got precons, right? So if we go back, go down, actually still on packs before we get off of that, there were 48 additional packs that we've seen so far. So the 12 that were given to Red Zone Rogue, and then a booster box was recently given to Team Covenant, excuse me, and opened on their YouTube channel. So there's 36 packs. However, these are not the silver packs. That I don't have any of the Team Covenant cards. So I can't really compare the card back of those. It would be interesting because that might tell us if the art print packs were printed at the same time as the silver packs, which again, we don't, basically the company said that is not the case because they were printed for different purposes. But it would be interesting to see just kind of like in the color values, if they're more similar to this or more similar to that. Might give us some insight on kind of what they look like, and perhaps, I guess it wouldn't really tell us when they were printed. So going to the sample cards, pre-constructed deck pops. So for the pre-con decks, there was one very early given to Red Zone Rogue, and I'm not sure if those were printed by a printer. He had mentioned that Eric had written on some of those cards. So I don't know if they were printed by himself or they were very early stage, so they're kind of like in a league of their own and quite different from the rest you're going to see here. But then there was a set sent to Kitchen Table TCG. This YouTuber Kodak, I think is how you pronounce it. I don't know if he's an MTG guy. I don't really follow him too much. I think there was one sent to DM Armada. There was some talk of that in a Discord, but I'm not sure that he ever received those. We never saw those on YouTube, so I really can't confirm. And then we're assuming perhaps a set was set to Rudy at Elf Investments since he's another partner, but that is unconfirmed as I noted here. And then finally, we saw from the giveaway event, there was the one I spoke to earlier and that you saw in the image, there was a giveaway event with Red Zone Rogue and Simon from Eric's Curiosa. And those were distributed to lucky fans that were able to draw those, or have their name spun on a wheel and were able to acquire what was it, like 7 apiece, something of that effect. So if you scroll down, I have the deck list from an early deck list. So this is the presumed list that was in each of those decks. And if you go through, what becomes interesting here, and I need to do a crosswalk mapping of these compared to what we've seen in decks, because I think there could be yet another layer of rarity for cards that were in the precons and perhaps were not printed in the sample packs, the packs themselves, not the precon decks. Because we heard that is confirmed for the avatars, so we know that to be true. But I also wonder for the uniques, and I guess if you scroll down here, actually, I might have this data at my fingertips. So you got Vesuvius, I believe that's a unique. Excuse me, still recovering from this cold here. Eric's Curiosa is a unique. Maelstrom is unique. We did see that in the packs. I know that off the cuff. In the win deck here, just trying to do a quick glance. I think there were a couple in Wind. So you have the Doomsday Device and the Grandmaster Wizard, and guess what? I have a copy of each of those, and those will be coming to auction during the Emerging Masters marathon event that I'm planning here. I have about 10 cards ready for that, and I think at least 8 or 9 uniquely different artists that will be represented in that lot. And then coming down to the Earth deck finally, Rift Valley, that might be, I'm not certain. Oh, of course, the Spear of Destiny. I was able to get one of those that we auctioned very early on, first auction that we did. Well, so very exciting. 2 more uniques coming from the win deck here, and those will be of the pre-con pedigree. So these are the rarest of the rare. We haven't seen that. Let me go to I showed this in the last video, the uniques and elites that were pulled from the decks, both the silver and the Team Covenant decks. Yeah, there you go. Rift Valley is a unique. So there was one. There was a Vesuvius. Let's see, Maelstrom. So a few of those from the precon decks were also in the packs. Confirm that here. But it is possible that perhaps a subset was not included that was already printed in the precons for the same reason that the avatars were not printed in the sample decks or sample packs, because we had already seen those in the decks and the company had their opportunity to kind of look and see the touch and feel of those. And furthermore, if they were printed at different times and more cards were developed and ready for print for the first time, it makes sense that they'd want to reserve more deck slots to see some of those in print if they did a randomization test and just wanted to get as large a sampling as possible. So some interesting data points there. The point of this video, again, is just looking at the different provenance of the cards. Your silver packs, your pre-con deck from the giveaway, and then your pre-con from the YouTubers' pre-con decks. And you see those two are the same, right? So it stands to reason that all of the pre-con decks that were printed at the same time, or at least the ones that were shared with social media types. And it's not, I think the company's essentially said they don't intend on giving out many more sample packs. They've kind of been through that. There's going to be the fulfillment of the Kickstarter, and those will be the silver packs, so that'll be this type. And so this, these are very limited. I showed an article that we estimate about 6 sets of those were given out. And then, certainly there could have been more printed within the company, maybe all at once, maybe at different times for their play testing or just for their own sampling. I'm sure they print a lot just to cycle through and test things and iterate. But those aren't the ones you're going to see out on public market, most likely, unless Company Insider sells someday. But it's not something you would assume to happen, right? So you're looking at maybe 6 potential sets of those. And then if you go back to the article, you have the list right there. So I would go look at this article and get a feel for how many copies of each card are actually in here. And I think, each one is a different elemental type. So there's not a lot of cards used across the various decks. And then within each deck, you only see, there's a few that have 3 copies. Some of the lands, like it says 9 rivers, but there's actually 3 excuse me, I think there's actually 3 types of rivers, so that's really 3 sets of 3. And then otherwise there's like 1, 2, sometimes 3 copies of cards. And then of course for uniques you can only have 1 copy. For elites you can only have 2 copies. So if there's a unique in these decks, if any one of these decks, then there's only going to be 6 copies if there's only been 6 precons distributed. And then if they don't exist in the packs, 6 copies, less than 10. That's pretty insane. If they do exist in the packs, you're looking at a total of, 244 packs from the Backstarter, or from the, I would say Backstarter, from the Kickstarter fulfillment, and then another 48 packs that we've seen so far between the Red Zone Rogue packs and the box sent to Team Covenant. So what's that? Less than 300 total packs. That's pretty limited. There's not a lot of duplicates across those. And if there's another level, there is that distinction between the packs versus the pre-con decks, so there's like different tiers or levels of rarity within those samplings that make these very exclusive. So pretty interesting insight. I thought you guys might appreciate that. This has really popped out as I started kind of leafing through these. And I took this image. It's tricky getting the lighting to make it look well, but you can see pretty readily that this is distinctly different from these two, and these look very similar. So there's uniformity within the prints, and it shows that the pre-con pedigree is similar and distinctly different from the packs we saw, at least those silver packs that we're going to see from Kickstarter fulfillment. So hopefully you guys find that insightful, and it helps with some clarity. Some people ask, like, as these auctions are coming up, how rare are these cards? I don't know the total pop. I don't know the number of copies of any given card. All I can do is kind of analyze the data that we've seen publicly, and just share that as best I can so you guys can make your own informed decision on if this is something that you desire to collect, and what value. So they're public open auctions. You guys decide the value. The bidders decide the value. We just open at a certain price, and they usually tend to close significantly higher thus far, at least. So stay tuned for those additional auctions. There's going to be more of these very rare ones in the upcoming Emerging Masters lot. And again, at Emerging Masters is going to be all the new artists we're discovering. Not that they're young or amateur artists. They're very accomplished. They're just not the typical artists we're familiar with from Magic the Gathering or D&D days. So their artwork is incredible, and their cards look incredible too. I was really excited to get a bunch of those in hand and bring those to you guys. So stay tuned on the Facebook page and in the Collector Arthouse Discord, and please check out the website and the article I showed to learn more. All right, take care, everybody. See ya.